Hi again, everybody. Nice to see you. Steve Dunn, Natali Marmion, and how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You know, hey, do this. Knock on my arm just a little bit. Does it feel frozen to you?
Were you freezing? Was it so cold out there?
I'm kind of a wimp in the cold anyway.
The Grand Floral Parade.
Grand Floral? Yes.
You hosted this year.
Grand Floral Starlight Parade. They combined them this year.
So how long were you outside freezing?
You know, it was probably like 5 hours. But
how many floats?
100 plus.
Wow.
And I'm telling you something. The wind was blowing. Of course, we're up kind of high on the stage. I didn't anticipate it was going to be that chilly. And despite the fact that I grew up in the chilly state of Michigan,
right.
I was absolutely freezing. I had a little light windbreaker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, at the point where you're just
I know.
shaking and purple.
That's how I used to feel in the studio every morning. I know.
I remember those days.
Cold, chill to the bone.
As a matter of fact.
I was inside toasty that morning, but good for you for being out there.
It was actually a lot of fun. It was
sure.
nice to see the community come together.
Yeah.
Right downtown. There were some great floats on it. But I'm telling you, by the time I got done, I ran for the car, turned the heat up as high as it would go, and still didn't thaw it for hours. Yeah. But nonetheless, it was a fun parade.
It was a fun time. I think about that parade, though, and for how many years we've been in town and covering it and going to it and then taking our kids. And when I think about our city and everything it's gone through, I often use, do you remember families would go tape off sidewalks?
Oh, yeah. They still do.
Some they're still out there.
There were a couple of them. I don't think they're supposed to do that, but some are doing it anyway.
But that's what... I can't laugh, but it's just a moment where I think about that's when the city, I remember doing the story, we covered it, that the city decided that was too messy to have tape on the street.
Right.
And then I think how did we go from masking tape on the sidewalk too messy to what we've been through now, hopefully cleaning it up again.
Hopefully much. Hey, before I just want to give a little tease here. This is what we call a tease in our business, Nat. We have a special guest today.
We do.
All right, I'll give you a little hint. This guy has done a lot. He's got a resume about 10 times the size of yours and mine and most people, as a matter of fact. Done some politicking. Yes. He's an inventor, auctioneer. You name it with this dude. We got lots to chat about.
Race car stuff.
Singer.
You're just throwing stuff out there now, though.
Hey,
but so
wouldn't
interesting.
Surprise me.
No, but I know this is so much fun. We get to talk to such interesting people, and I can't wait to talk to him about.
Well, let's bring him in now, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Alan Alley to our set.
Welcome.
It's very nice to be here with two of the most interesting people in all of Oregon.
When are they coming in?
Will they be up next? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing really, really well.
Good.
Thanks.
Doing really well. Still doing a lot of different things.
You are. So, in fact, we're going to backtrack. But what are you fresh off of? In fact, because you're always going and doing something.
So, I've always been a car guy.
Yes.
And when I was a little kid, the Indianapolis 500 was a big deal. And I'd listen to it on the radio on Memorial Day. And I got to go to the time trials, the qualifying for Indy this year. And the first day it rained out. But I sat on the front straight of Indianapolis with 250,000 empty seats around me, just sitting there thinking about that 9-year-old kid listening to the radio and everything that's gone on there. And it was a really wonderful moment for me. It was really, really cool. And, from that, I went into mechanical engineering. My first job was with Ford. My granddad had worked for Ford. My dad had worked for Ford. So cars and the automotive industry have been kind of at the heart of everything that I've done. So to have that full circle moment was really kind of incredible.
You know, I was pretty envious because I had sent him a message. I want him to come on this program. He said, sorry, Steve, I'm in Indy. You know, at the time trials, I was headed to like Safeway to get groceries or something at the time.
He's doing it right. You're doing it wrong.
What's going on with this picture? But you've done a ton. And for the folks at home or the listeners right now, you have played a major role in politics throughout the years. So ran for governor twice in 2010 and 2016.
Yep.
In 2010, you ran against Chris Dudley, who just ran again. Let me ask you a question on that, because it's a tough landscape for Republicans.
Yeah.
And do you see in our lifetime that a Republican would ever win the governor's race again?
No.
Yeah.
No. Obviously, I give a lot of thought to this. I wish I could say yes, but as things get more polarized, and we're seeing this not just in Oregon, but in every state, the red states are getting redder and the blue states are getting bluer. What we're seeing with redistricting with the United States House and them biasing the redistricting, what's happening is the party that's in power is becoming more and more entrenched and structurally becoming more and more entrenched. They're passing laws and things that make it more difficult for power to change. Mm-hmm. That's not just Oregon. Mm-hmm. Texas is doing the same thing. Florida's doing the same thing in red states. California is certainly doing the same thing. It's going to be really, really, really hard to break that. It could happen. You know, Dennis Richardson got elected here in Oregon. It was a very special time, and the candidate that he was running against was not really embraced by the opposing party. But I don't realistically see that happening.
But we both go to so many events, as do you, where we hear even our staunch Democrat friends so frustrated, and they've had it up to here too with the way things currently are, and yet you don't see things changing.
We could get very wonky on this, but we have an enormous public employee union sector here in Oregon, larger than most states. The public employee unions have a huge incentive to continue to vote to keep the status quo. Apart from other economic issues, other environmental issues, or whatever, it's just the way that it is. And there's so many voters in that block, you just about don't need anybody else to vote with you. Mm. So it doesn't take many other people to vote with that group to keep it in the hands that it's in. The governor just created the Prosperity Council, right? And the Prosperity Council came out with their first report, and not surprisingly, it said, we need to create an environment where businesses can create jobs. And that means take a look at business taxes, take a look at regulations, take a look at all the paperwork that we have, take a look at all the things that Tim Boyle has talked about. And the immediate reaction from the public employee unions was tax breaks for the rich. That's all they want is tax breaks for the rich. And so it's probably not going to change anything, right? Yeah. And that's really sad because Oregon's such a wonderful place. When I ran for governor, Jeb Bush was actually my Republican Governors Association mentor. Okay. So I got to hang out with him. Mm-hmm. And when I walked into the room, I met him, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's the president's son and his brother, because his dad was president and his brother was president. So Jeb goes, Alan, it's really nice to meet you. And he says, so you're from Oregon? I said, yes, I am. He goes, Oregon, that's up in the Northwest, and you're right on the ocean there, and you got all these deep water ports. And I said, yeah. He says, you got all this water, you got tons of water, you got hydro power, CO2-free hydro power. So yeah, and he goes, and you got all that timberland, and you got Intel. Isn't Intel's largest facility in the world? And he knew all this, right? So he walks through all this, and then he says, but you got this terrible homeless problem. You know, your income, per capita income is one of the lowest in the country. Your schools are ranked down near Mississippi. He said, how'd you screw it up?
What'd you say to that?
I said, well, we haven't had Vicatia around for 40 years.
Last Republican governor in the state of Oregon.
Right. You say everything you just described then and now, how much has changed?
It hasn't changed at all. Yeah. I did a thing called the Allen Alley Times. I don't know if you remember it, but we found that we could do an insert in a paper for like 6 cents a piece instead of doing mailers. So we had the local papers print up little newspapers that we stuck in papers, and then they were distributed around the state. 250,000 of them dropped all around the state. Very economical to do it. And I would go to rural Oregon, and people would come with my little newspaper because it had very detailed explanations of my positions on things and what I would do. And I always, being the engineer, I can't come up with a problem and not at least propose a solution. Mm-hmm. So I had proposed solutions. You might not agree with them, but let's talk. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at it this year. It's all the same.
Yeah.
16 years later, nothing's changed. We're not better in education. We're not better in a business climate. We haven't helped our infrastructure. There's no more, the roads are just as crowded or more crowded than they were before. And that was very sobering to me to think 16 years have gone by.
Right.
Because particularly now in a time where we are in a campaign for governor again,
yeah.
Can you step back and see anything that the state of Oregon does well right now? And take your time.
No.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. When I ran, I used to say, these numbers aren't accurate anymore, but order of magnitude, the state budget has doubled in the last 10 years. Is anything twice as good as it was 10 years ago? Do you have twice as many roads? Are your class sizes half the size? Do you have more mobility? Do you feel like you are wealthier than you were 10 years ago? And everybody's answer is no.
No.
And the crazy thing is you can't name one thing, yet the entire budget has doubled. Right. So everything should be twice as good, or at least 50% better, right? And yet you can't name anything that's better. And that's a massive, massive problem. And I don't see us addressing it.
When you started, you've been so involved in Oregon politics and public policy, in the decades now since you moved to Oregon. I'm curious to know how and why you first decided to dip your toe in. Was it the engine, the propose a solution to some things? And then once you're on the inside running for things, how frustrating is it then when you see these problems and yet nothing's being done?
Yeah. So a couple of things. My mom was very active in politics when I was a little kid, and I never thought much about it. It was just something that was going on in my life, but that made me politically aware, not politically active, but certainly politically aware. And then you may remember Governor Kulongoski, Democratic Governor Kulongoski, actually asked me to be his deputy chief of staff when I left Pixelworks. And for about 2 years, I went and worked in the governor's office. My office was right next to his office. On Friday afternoons, he and I would just get together, and I'd go, Governor, the Democrats, they're doing this, and I just don't get it, right? And he'd go, well, let me explain this to you and how it works. And I go, oh, that makes sense. I understand that. And then he'd go, Alan, the Republicans, they're just killing me on this. Why can't they understand? And I'd explain it to him, and he'd go, I kind of get that. If I was in that position, I might get that. And it was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. I wish we had cameras and microphones for those conversations, because it was just two guys that are very engaged in trying to do things better for our state, sharing views. Tim Nesbitt is a guy that I worked with, right? And Tim and I used to do the same thing. He was the president of the AFL-CIO in Oregon, and I was a tech executive, right? But we'd close the door, and we wouldn't agree on everything. Okay. But one of the things we realized is it's our background and experience that kind of leads us to the conclusions. I don't know what it's like to be a taxi driver and the president of the AFL-CIO. Tim doesn't know what it's like to be a technology executive and take a company public and spend half your time in Asia. I can't expect him to, right? But by just openly sharing and talking and understanding that our basic values of, look, we want what's great for Oregon. We want to have great schools. We want our people to have great opportunities here. We want to preserve the environment. We want to do it in an Oregon way, right? We don't want it like New York or Pennsylvania necessarily. We want to do it like Oregon. It was very, very rewarding. And that's what inspired me. And then I met so many people that were just under-led in the government, that all they needed was an opportunity to be released. They knew what the right thing to do was, but they're locked in this bureaucracy that they couldn't get out of. And as a CEO, as a guy that's worked for massive companies like Boeing and Ford, but also started little companies, I thought I had a skill set that was not unique, but special to help unlock that if I ever had the opportunity to do it. And that was really why I decided to run.
You mentioned Pixelworks, semiconductor company that you co-founded. Tell us about that. You were explaining to me before the program what you guys were up to with that particular company. Explain to the folks at home what it was all about.
Yeah, so I was going to start a venture firm here in Oregon. And I have a history in venture capital. I've invested in a lot of companies, and I thought that would be a good thing to do. So I embarked on doing that. What you do is you go out, raise money, and then you start investing in companies. And a couple of the guys from InFocus, my previous company, came to me, and they had an idea about starting their own company. They pitched me on it, and I started working with them, and I said, maybe this could be my first investment. I know these guys. They're really good guys. So we got to the end, and I said, okay, you need to know something. Good idea. Great. You're not the CEO, and you're not the CEO, and you're not the CEO. So when we pitch this, we have to pitch it as a technology idea, and that you're open to having somebody else come in that has the right kind of background and experience to be the CEO. And they said, yep, okay, we get it. And the next day they came back and said, well, you could be the CEO.
Good choice.
You have that resume.
Were you thinking that at all when you said that to him?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't help but, as I'm describing it, it's like, well, I'm describing myself, but I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to start this venture firm.
Yeah.
And so that's how it all started.
Wow. You guys eventually went public with that company.
We did. We had a certain background and experience, and it was right at the time when the old cathode ray tubes, the old CRTs, the big bulky things, were going to be replaced by flat panel displays. And there was some electronics that needed to be created to sort of enable that and accelerate it. Okay. And we had some ideas about how to do that. So that was the premise of the company. And I knew how to architect a company to raise money. I had done that for many, many years. And these guys were extraordinary engineers and marketing people that had a lot of experience in this specific area. So we were able to be extraordinarily successful. We sold $1 billion worth of chips in our first 10 years.
I didn't know people ate that many potato chips.
Yeah, well,
that's a lot
me,
of
so I'm half of
chips.
their.
No, that's
That is
incredibly impressive.
Yeah, and the company was public 3 years after we founded it.
Wow.
So, and
That's got to be fairly unusual too, isn't it?
It's really unusual.
Yeah.
And I say that not because it was me or anything else. It was the right group of people at the right time. And actually, Oregon was a huge asset to us at that time.
And why was that?
Proximity to Asia. Okay. We lobbied and got direct air service to Asia. Nike was really the biggest driver of that, but we could piggyback on that. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to Eastern Oregon, and they were asking me about why on earth do I need direct air service to Asia? And I said, well, the way the time zones work and the time change works, I go maybe 20 times a year to Asia. Yeah. And with the direct flight, I get 20 Saturdays with my family. Uh-huh. So what's 20 Saturdays worth to you with your kids?
Yep.
And they're like, well, that's pretty valuable. I said, well, that's why I wanted direct air service to Asia, because if I had to connect, I'd blow Saturday coming
I love
back.
That. So you've had your priorities straight throughout all of this.
Yeah, and it was a magical time, a magical place. Yeah. We also had a much more vibrant technology community here when you had Sequent, floating point systems, those kinds of companies that Tektronix was huge at that time. We had venture capitalists that were coming to visit us here.
Do you feel like all that stopped?
Yeah. I mean, largely, yes.
Yeah. You know, Alan, I know your family's always been very important to you. I know that still to this day. Alan and I worked together on a charity event a recent couple of times.
I figured it wasn't the tech company.
No,
it was not.
It wasn't.
I wasn't invited to that meeting. But in beforehand, the person in charge called me up and said, "Hey, Steve, can you do this event?" And I said, "Well, who's your auctioneer?" And they said, "Well, Alan Alley." And I'm thinking there must be another Alan Alley. Can't be. This guy's already done a million things in his lifetime. There's no way he had an auctioneer to his resume. But that guy showed up and he was very good.
I've no doubt.
He was very good, and he had. Did you learn on YouTube? Is that what you did, or something like that?
So my daughter was going to a boarding school in Wisconsin, little tiny boarding school, and my wife and I went to an auction, and there was an auctioneer, and he was terrific. And I figured he must be a cattle auctioneer in Wisconsin. I went up to him. I said, "Hey, you did a really great job." He goes, "Well, I'm just a dad in the community. I run the Chevy dealer, and my sidekick ran a bank." And I said, "So you guys just imitate being an auctioneer?" And he goes, "Yeah, we've been to enough auctions." I said, "Well, I think I could do that." So, and my mom, I think Steve knows this. My mom was the first Oprah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Did you know
and
that?
my dad
I did know that.
And my dad was a nightclub singer that worked his way through engineering school as a nightclub singer. So being on stage was not a foreign thing to me. And putting yourself out there in a very dramatic way, which is what an auctioneer is, was not that far from what I was comfortable doing. So I started doing it. And we've raised, I don't know, $10 million for, and they're all little things, like the little elementary school or the high school, or we did one for a riding academy one year where they take autistic kids and they ride horses around. So they can't afford a big-time auctioneer, so I volunteer my time.
That's when we end up emceeing, too, when they can't afford a big-time MC.
No,
That's
I
true.
don't think so.
Hey, now that you mentioned it, you're right about that.
Every time.
I hadn't really thought about that.
But it worked out really, really well. And then over the years, I've kind of improved the patter a little bit. And I tailor it for people that don't really go to auctions.
That's great.
Right?
How fun.
So,
And he's also an inventor. I should mention that.
Yes.
Look, this resume
I
is
know.
long.
And that's just when you scribble down.
Yours and mine stops about right here.
It's in
Alan's
one
is
line for me.
one
But you've
line.
also done Walk Across Oregon.
Yes.
I
At
did
what
that.
point did you do that, and which campaign was that part of?
yeah, so in 2008, I ran for state treasurer, came very close to winning the general election for that. And that was my first time to really tour around the state. And what I realized is I'd go to Baker City, Oregon, and I'd cruise in. They'd ask me questions, and I was like the Jedi with the lightsaber. I'm like deflecting their questions, right? I had answered them all. I knew what the answers worked and which ones didn't.
Right.
And I'm like, and then I'd hop in my shiny black Tahoe and drive to the next meeting, right? And I realized I could feel that I wasn't really being genuine.
Okay.
I wasn't really listening and understanding their issues. I was just deflecting them, right? So I said, when I run next time, how could I be more genuine? How could I show them that I really care about the issues?
Right.
And we came up with all kinds of ideas about riding a bike, and they said, no, that's too Portland, right? They said, well, if you want to ride a Harley, that would be okay. And I'm not a Harley rider, so that wasn't going to work. And we came up with walking, and they said, okay, yeah, walking would be good. So we started in Baker City, and I mentioned that I started in Baker City because walking this direction is downhill.
Brilliant.
By about 3,500 feet, not an insignificant amount.
Yeah.
Write that down, Natalie.
I already did.
And we'd walk for about 15 miles a day, and people from the community would come out, moms and dads and city councilors and county commissioners, and we'd just walk. And in the first hour, it took about 5 hours a day. In the first hour, everybody's super nice, right?
Okay.
In the second hour, they start to get a little cranked up, right? Start to really kind of come forward with some of the real issues.
Okay.
In the third hour, they'd kind of just blow their stack.
Okay.
Just like full-throated,
They get the nerve
this is
up
how
and-
screwed
yes.
up things are. I hate all this
You
stuff.
watched it happen every time, too, every day. That's so interesting.
Third hour. Fourth hour, they're like calming down and saying, why are you still here after I just did that to you? It's like, well, I have 4 more miles to go. I can't. There's
No
no
choice.
place else.
No Tahoe to pick you up.
No.
Yeah.
And in the 5th hour, it's, would you like to come over to my house and have dinner tonight and meet people in my community? And I'd love to have them meet you.
Okay.
And I learned so much. I've said I wish everybody in Oregon could have an opportunity to do that. You can't do it without investing the time. You can't just cruise in and have a town hall meeting and get that. And I learned so many things, and people just bared their souls to me about issues that they have. It was really inspiring. And one of the things that I needed to do if I ever would have run again is do it in Portland, because the stories of people on the streets of Portland that I don't hang out with. I don't hang out with ranchers in Eastern Oregon. I don't hang out with people in the inner city in Portland. I got some of it because I used to tour schools. But just to hang out with people and spend quality time with them, you'd learn so many things. The stories just go on forever.
We mentioned he's an inventor as well, Nat. And let me explain a little bit, okay? So we were at our charity event, and he says, hey, let me show you a picture here, Steve. And you still golf a little bit?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, do you? Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Do you-
I golf. I'm not a golfer, but I golf.
Okay, you
There's
golf
a
a little
difference.
bit. What kind of putter do you use? Do you know?
A putter.
Okay.
Is
Just
it one of
whatever's
the
in
new
the bag.
modern ones, or is
No.
it? No?
Whatever's in the bag.
Whatever's
right?
in the bag.
Okay.
This man invented a putter.
Well, now I'm going to be using his putter.
I'm not-
Is it magic? Well, does it make the
It's a
golf ball
magic
go
putter.
Explain this whole story.
in? Did you bring it with you?
No, I should have,
you
because
should
it's pretty striking. So I'm a mechanical engineer, all this stuff. And I'm I'm in the process of, quote, retiring, right?
I don't think
That's
you
never
ever
gonna
will.
happen
no,
for you.
there's
And
always
I
something.
told my wife, I said, I think I want to build a car, right? Why not?
You think about that every
Granddad
weekend, don't you?
Every morning. This is
Granddad
morning.
did, Dad did. I'm going to build a car.
And what your wife's reaction is probably like, of course.
Yep.
But we had moved from our big house on the lake to a townhouse, and she's like, you're not building a car in our garage. That's just not happening.
If you'd still had the big garage, would she let you do it?
Oh,
you
yeah.
think?
Yeah. Debbie said she's an amazing woman.
She is an amazing
and
woman,
she's
yes.
helped out so much. She's put up with
Yes,
she's
I
put
met
up
her.
with this insane resume.
Yes.
And one of the things that Debbie said to me is, you can have any car you want as long as you never have a motorcycle.
Okay, fair.
And
I'll
I
get
was
that.
like, that's a fair trade.
yes.
Right?
Right.
So I stretched that about as far as I could. But
Yeah.
I wanted to build a car, couldn't do that. Then I said, I'm going to design a putter,
Yeah.
right?
That sounds
'Cause
more
I'm an
From a
reasonable.
inventor.
car to a putter.
Well, it fits in the garage
It's
easier,
small.
right? You don't just
Right?
take
you
me
put
the
a
whole
bunch of them
shop.
in the garage.
And then if you're a golfer, you know that the last thing the world needs right now is yet another putter,
Yeah.
right?
But this is a unique one.
Well,
Have you used it?
I've seen it. I haven't
Okay.
used
then
it
what
yet.
I did is I said, okay, well, there's these old bullseye putters. They're brass, and they look like the putt-putt putters
Okay.
that you get, but they're made out of brass. And from the 1940s through about the late 1970s, they were the putter. That was what everybody used. They won the U.S. Open. They won the Masters. They won the British Open. The problem was they're not weighted the way a modern putter is weighted. We've learned about putter physics in the intervening years. But all the putters that are designed today look like the Starship Enterprise or something. They've got all these things hanging off.
Yes.
It looks like I designed it, right? Some goofy engineer in his garage designed, I'm going to make a putter, right? The physics are going to be right. But no artistic.
Yeah.
And these old bullseye putters are just beautiful. So I got an old bullseye putter and I stuck weights on it and balanced it like a modern putter. And it was like, hey, this actually works. This is pretty cool. And then I went through a couple of years of iterating and trying different things and came up with a way of attaching weights
Okay.
to the bullseye putter that looked pretty cool. And the inspiration was bullseye, guns. The weights are actually cartridges from rifles and shotguns.
Okay.
And then you balance them with using tungsten, which is a very heavy metal, and you create this putter that has these weights on the back of it that are pretty striking. And then you polish the whole thing up and clean it all up and re-grip it and re-shaft it. And
you like it. You use it. This is something in your bag.
You said
No,
people
they're-
want to buy it.
Oh, so it's not out there. You can't buy it yet.
Well,
that's the next story. So I got this all done, and I said, I'm going to go to the PGA show in Orlando, and I'm going to show the
Why
world
wouldn't
my
you?
putter.
Yeah.
Why not?
I can take a company public in 3 years. Why can't I do this?
Why can't I do this? So my daughter and I went to the PGA show in Orlando this year, and I showed my putter for the first time. I had 25 of them built. And this is 35,000 golf professionals at this show. Mm-hmm. And they'd come by and they'd see it, and they're like, this has to be a joke. This can't be
Not
serious.
the reaction you were going for.
No. And then they'd try it and go, oh my gosh, this actually works.
Yeah.
Right? So we got incredibly good feedback on it, and people started to ask to buy it. And I said, do I really want to sell these? And now I have to collect sales tax and pay in different jurisdictions. And, now I'm going to have all this income and the bookkeeping associated with it. And for a moment, it was like, Ellen, you've run big company. You've started this. But even I was a little timid about taking that on now. So the very first opportunity I had was the Oregon Sheriff's Association. And a sheriff approached me and liked the putters. So I donated one to the Oregon Sheriff's Association. So serial number 00001 was auctioned off at the Oregon Sheriff's Association. And I'm thinking that might be what I do with them. I might just...
Were you the auctioneer for that association?
No.
Oh, that would have been perfect.
That would have been great.
But I've thought about doubling that up. It's like, I'll give you this putter, but I have to be your auctioneer.
Sure.
It's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah.
He's offered to auction one off at my golf
Yeah.
tournament
I just
coming
want
up
to try it. I want to
in
see if
August.
this is what my game's missing, is his putter.
They're really...
Stop.
feeling,
Don't say
Natalie.
anything.
They're,
Just say,
gonna
I'm
be the
sure
magic,
that's all
let
that's
me tell ya.
missing.
I can say unequivocally, after having all these I didn't have 35,000, but probably 150. They really were stunned at how good this thing putts. And so it's...
So there's still a chance, though. You still might or no?
There's
Make
still a
it in
chance.
mass. Okay.
No, if I could figure out a way to limit the liability, so to speak.
So it was meant to be you didn't build the car, so you could build the putter.
Right.
I
This
built the
all
putter.
turned out the way it was
And
supposed to.
I turned my sunroom, which is a glorious little space, into a machine shop.
Oh, your wife loves that too, doesn't she?
There's,
So where does she live?
she gave me the sign. I said, I just kind of slowly took it over. But there's there's a numerical controlled CNC machine in there. There's 2 3D printers in there.
Yeah.
There's computers all over the place. Lots of hand tools.
Yeah.
And your bed's in the garage.
It's Santa's workshop. It really looks like Santa's workshop.
Hey, I want to ask you one more question.
Yeah.
If someone were to come to you and say, Alan, we want you to run for office again, what would you say?
So they periodically do.
I bet.
I've said no, obviously, since I haven't done it, because I want to see a path to winning, right? My voice, I think, would be a really cool voice to have in an election. When I ran against Dudley, I actually did a debate with John Kitzhaber and Bill Bradbury in front of 1,000 people at Portland State, and it was the Sierra Club debate. And I was the only Republican that showed up. And we had a great discussion. And people didn't necessarily have to agree with what I said, but the feedback was, I'm very impressed that you'd show up and defend your positions. From that, John Kitzhaber and I sat down and said, Alan, if I win and he wins, we were going to tour around the state and do fireside chats
Oh, wow.
like this.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any illusion that I'm going to beat John Kitzhaber, but the talk would have been really extraordinary.
It would have been.
And it would have been good for the state if it would have been covered by the media in the spirit that we wanted to do this. So
You see it running? Another one?
Pardon?
Anywhere? You see it run in any office coming
Me?
up for you? Yeah.
no. I don't.
But can I follow up on that a little
Yeah.
bit and say, you know, we all love our beautiful state
Yeah.
here and our beautiful city, and there are frustrations, but I know you love so much about it too. Can you share any of the positive? You choose to stay here, raise your family here, and you're always coming back no matter your travels.
Yeah.
Why do you do that, and what is your hope?
So the assets that we have are unparalleled. And part of that is the people, and we want to live in a certain way. I can't teach people in Indiana to live the way we want to live in Oregon. And I think you can do it in harmony with the other things that are going on. I'll give you an example. We passed the renewable portfolio standard that says we have to have renewable energy pretty much 100% by 2040 here. We're not going to come anywhere close to doing that. We can't get out of our way to build the renewable energy resources. The number is something like in the last 10 years, Texas has installed 10 times the renewable energy that Oregon and Washington have installed combined.
Wow.
But, you know, I'm a Republican. If I was governor, guess what? We're actually going to do it because the citizens of Oregon have said, we want renewable energy and we want this much by this date, right? And I think I can do it in a very cost-effective way that we can roll this out. And it's not going to raise your energy rates. It's not going to cripple things, but we're actually going to do it. The system that we have in place, we have performative things like the renewable portfolio standard. There's no way we're going to get it built by that point in time. I have a friend that's been working on a large solar project 7 years, permitting it, and he hasn't broken ground. And it's in Oregon, and that's inexcusable.
It is.
Right?
It is. 7 years on the permits alone.
Yes.
That's incredible. Thank you for coming today.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope it
don't
was
go away
useful.
because we're not quite done. But because we do a little thing called the circular file at the end. We talk about something a little odd that's happened.
More about him then.
No.
You
want odds.
It's a long resume. Let me tell you
He's
something.
going to be a circular file one day.
Well, one of the greatest points on his resume is the fact he's from Michigan. Did I mention that?
Yeah, as are you.
Yeah.
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 Isn't that kind of cool?
I don't know that. It's it's
Born
incredibly
in
cool.
Kalamazoo.
Kalamazoo, Michigan.
And you?
How about that? Well, I was suburban Detroit. Family's all up in Gaylord now. You know where Gaylord
Yeah.
is, of course. A little cold. They get snow in the
I've
summertime.
flown over Michigan.
All right, thanks for stopping by.
Thank
You
you.
waved to my mom down
Wow.
below. Anyway, we've talked
get
about
there.
lottery stories a lot. And I know you're
Yes.
probably getting sick and tired
No.
of it, but a woman in Michigan, all right, she's driving along. She drives past a convenience store. She has this incredible urge to buy a lottery ticket.
Okay.
All right. Something came over her. She doesn't know what it was. She goes in, she buys the ticket, $100,000 a year for life.
Wow.
An urge.
See, follow your
Giddy
instincts. Just follow your instincts.
She said
I
once
do
she
that
found
sometimes
out
with ice cream. It does not work.
oh man.
Sorry. Well, good for her, though.
Yeah, good for her. You know, ice cream, $100,000 for life.
See, I
guess
should only
depends on
pull
the mood
over
you're
for the
in.
lottery ticket,
Always.
not the calories.
Well, I like the ice cream too.
Yeah.
But anyway, she said she found out she won. She did a happy dance in the streets.
As you would.
Happy dance, and she's going to buy a car and a
smokes.
boat and a house and everything else.
So you're
with it.
moving home is what you're telling
I'm
me.
going back.
You're going
I'm
to
going
go
back.
and
I'm
meet
hoping
her.
she's related to me somewhere
I'm
along
sure
the line.
She is.
But do you get back to Michigan at all?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
I consider Indiana sort of Michigan 2.0 for me too.
Yeah.
Because I went to Purdue
Right.
and so I've got more ties in Indiana now than I actually do in Michigan. So when I go back to Indiana, I call it, I kind of check the box that I did my Midwestern fix.
That makes
Nice.
sense. This guy's never retiring, and that's good
No
for all
way.
of us.
No.
That's good for all of
we
us.
need more of your ideas and inventions. And yeah, you've done incredible things and given so much of your time to our beautiful state and our community. So thank you for everything you've done. And you're so much fun to talk to. Your story's
Wow.
incredible.
It's given a lot to me and to us, and we never could have done what we've done in other places.
Yeah.
I think it was a very special place during that period of time in the late 1990s and early 2000s. It was incredible. And I'd love to see it get back to that.
Yes.
Well, if you ever decide to actually build that car, Natalie could be your test driver.
I could be.
There we go.
Yeah. I'd probably
Are
see
you
you
a-
at some of those races.
are
I've
you
been
a-
doing last year I went to 2 Indy races.
Really?
So much fun.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
yeah. Well, you ought
Yeah.
to see her drive. She should be in the Indy race.
Easy now. Easy.
I'm like, Natalie, that was a stop sign, not a suggestion.
But see, there are no stop signs on the track, Steve. I can just
No,
go.
that's true.
Oh, my God. I'll give you video sometime.
There are walls, though.
Our walls.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Alan Alley is our guest today. We appreciate you. You come back anytime you want.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Great
It was
having
really
you.
fun.
Thank
Hey,
you.
thank
See you soon.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Have a great day.